So, welcome to another level up session. This is a topic that I am really excited about and I love talking about because a lot of the times we don't actually know unless we've been taught this. So, this is how to read a nutrition label. So, you all should be able to see the screen now. So, this is all about how to read a nutrition label. So, we're going to try to make better food choices without overthinking it. So, this is a really practical Zoom session designed to give you real clarity and lasting confidence at the grocery store because I know how confusing it can be when you go to the grocery store and you're looking at all these products, all these marketing, and you're not really sure what to buy. So this picture here is a really great picture as a reference. So it actually has highlighted what each section of the food label means. So we are going to go through those sections, but as an overall, how to read a food label, if you did want to pause it here and have a quick look through that, it's a really good table to look through. So how to read a nutrition label. Nutrition labels are on every packaged food, but most of us have never been shown how to actually read them. So I do believe that this is something that should be introduced in schools because it is such a big part of our life, and not knowing how to read a food label properly and we're actually putting that food into our bodies can have really big effects on our health. So today's session actually strips away that confusion and hopefully gives you a bit more understanding. So why does it actually matter that we know this? So understanding nutrition labels, it's one of the most powerful tools you can have in your health toolkit. So not to obsess over the numbers, but to make genuinely informed choices. So it cuts through the noise and you understand exactly what you're buying with your food. It stops that marketing confusion. So you learn to look past the healthy or the natural, the low fat, all those claims that are on the front of the packages. You can actually look past that by reading the nutrition label and making that making that decision as to whether what they say on the front matches what's on the back. And it just builds that awareness. Okay, so I really want to concentrate on the fact that it's awareness and not obsession. So you don't need to read every single label perfectly. You just need to know the key things to look for. So let's break down every section of the nutrition label step by step. So we can see that this is another example of a food label. If you do want to pause it here, you can read those, but we're actually going to just step through the main sections of the food label. So the first thing I want to go through is serving size. So you always want to check this first. So the serving size is the foundation of everything on a nutrition label. So every single number, the calories, the protein, fat, the sodium is all based on this amount. Now, the catch with the serving size is that they're often smaller than what people actually eat in one sitting. Okay, so this is just a small bag of, Smith's Kringle original chips. But if you were to open up a big bag of chips, you're generally going to eat more in one sitting than what the actual serving size is. Okay, so the serving size for here is 19 grams. Now, if you were to actually weigh out 19 grams, you would see that it's not very much at all. So if you're sitting there with a big bag of chips or you've poured it out into a bowl for a barbecue and you're eating away, you're definitely going to be eating more than a single serve. Okay, so this is where a lot of people get tricked up. So when you're looking at the label, the serving size, I've got it circled here in red. So the serving size here is 19 grams. And then when we look over here where I've got it highlighted, the average quantity per serving. So these are the macro breakdowns for that single serving. Now, if you're wanting to compare products, which we'll get to a little bit later, but if you do want to compare products, you're always best to compare with the average quantity per 100 grams. Okay, so we can look down here, 19 grams is a single serving. it's 104 calories, and then it's got the breakdown of, your protein, your fat, your carbohydrates, and that type of thing. So that's just what I wanted to bring to light first. So if you were to, be sitting at a barbecue, eating some chips, the likelihood is that you're probably going to have 3 or 4 servings of those chips. So you would need to, just say you ended up having, let's round up, 60 grams. So you've had 3 times the amount. You need to times that by 3. Okay, so that would be 312 calories. I've actually got it written over here. And then the fat amount in that would be 19.8 grams. Okay, so that's triple everything. So always check the serving size before reading any other number. So even when you're having ice cream at nighttime, so it'll always have what that serving size is on the back. So it might be, I think a lot of ice cream tubs, their serving sizes are about 47 grams. The chances are when you're scooping that out, you're having more than 47 grams. Okay. So then we've got the per serving per 100 grams. So nutrition labels often show values in 2 ways. So I just touched on this before. So understanding the difference helps you actually make those smarter comparisons between products. So per serving is like I just talked about, is the serving size for 1 serving. So it's useful knowing that for when you're consuming it. But if you're wanting to compare products, the gold standard for comparing products is doing it per 100 grams, okay? Because that then is a standardized portion size for you to compare 2 products. So these 2 products here is actually two different types of ice cream. So their serving size, 48 grams, 47 grams, they're very within 1 gram of each other. A lot of the times you will find with different products, their serving sizes are very different. But when comparing them, you still want to have a look at that 100 grams. So if we go over here where I've circled 100 grams, every product will have the quantity per 100 grams. Okay, and they do this for comparison reasons. So it will tell you what the calories are, and then I've just got marked next to it your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. They're the main ones we will look at today. So then you can compare, okay, this one has slightly more carbohydrates, but it's got less fats in it, okay? And depending if you're tracking macros or anything like that, this is a really good way to go, okay, it fits within my calorie target for the day. Now, calories. So calories, as we've talked about before, is the energy in the food that you're consuming. So on the back of products, sometimes it won't actually have calories listed. Okay, it will have, if I go back, kilojoules. So this label has both kilojoules and calories, but a lot of the times it'll actually just have kilojoules. Now, with my clients, I always work in calories. So I wanted to pop this in here to let you know that if the label has kilojoules, you can convert it to calories, okay, and vice versa. So I've got a cheeseburger here, 313 calories. If I want to convert it to kilojoules, I need to multiply it by 4.18. If I'm in the shop and it only has kilojoules and I want to get it to calories, I just divide this by 4.18. However, when I'm doing it just quickly in the supermarket, I just divide it by 4. Okay, so it's a lot easier to divide by 4 than 4.18, and it will give you, like if you're trying to do it quickly, that rough estimation of calories. All right, Americans work in kilojoules, so that's why you see kilojoules a lot more often, especially in restaurants, like I think it's like Guzman and Gomez and Zambreros and things like that. it will be kilojoules, but if you want to convert it to calories, just divide the kilojoules by 4. Okay? So, when it comes to the calorie amount on your nutrition label, higher calories isn't always bad. Okay? So, your nuts, your avocado, oily fish, they're quite calorie dense, but they're very nutritious. So, calorie count alone doesn't actually tell you the quality of the food. Lower calories doesn't always equal better, right? Many low calorie products are heavily processed. They're high in sugar or low in protein and fiber. So we need to always look beyond that number. All right, we'll talk about ingredients shortly. And then your calories also needs to depend on your goals, your activity level, your body size. There's kind of no one size fits all. So if you do work with me as like one-to-one, you do have your calories already calculated for you, and I already give you that information there. But this is a really handy tip to know because a lot of the foods that we look at do actually just have that kilojoule amount. All right, so protein. So as we know, protein is one of the most important nutrients to pay attention to on a label. Right? It plays a vital role in muscle repair and recovery, and it's the most filling macronutrient. So it keeps your hunger at bay for longer periods of time. So what we want to look for is, sorry, this one's a bit blurry. I can't actually remember what that product was. But when we're looking at the nutrition label, we do just come down here, have a look at protein, come across to per serving. So it's 8.3 grams per serving, and the per serving on here is 250 mils. All right, then if we go across and we're wanting to compare it to another product, 3.3 grams per 100 mils. All right, so with the protein, we're just looking at this row here. Protein's actually one of the easiest ones to look at because it's just that single line. Now, carbohydrates. So, carbohydrates are our primary energy source, and they're definitely not the enemy. All right, you need to have carbohydrates. But when it comes to carbohydrates on a nutrition label, it can be a little bit tricky because there are several lines to that. So, the carbohydrates, the first one that we see on a nutrition label, is the total carbohydrates in the food. So that includes all forms of carbs, your starches, your fibers, your sugars combined. So that's your natural and your added sugars. All right, so that's the total amount. There is a subcategory underneath which says sugars. So those sugars is within that total carbohydrates, and that's where you do want to pay close attention because this is where the added sugars are. So that's what can spike your blood sugar quite quickly. So the reason why they do have it separately, and it never used to be like that, I don't know, can't tell you when it actually came in, but this is for people who do need to watch their blood sugar levels. So they have put this on the label for health management reasons. So just a couple of other little tips. Your starches are your complex, odorless, white carbohydrate powders. So they're produced by green plants as energy storage. So they're found in foods like potatoes, rice, corn, and wheat. So it is a vital source, and they break down into glucose for energy. So not all carbs are bad though, as I was saying. Your whole grains, your oats, your fruits, legumes, they're all highly nutritious. So what we want to do is focus on the quality and the context and not actually just that number that's there. But I did really want to point out that this second line here are those sugars, okay? So not the starchy fibrous carbohydrates. These are actually the sugars, and they are separate for health management reasons. So then we've got fats. Okay, so fat has also been unfairly demonized for a long time. Um, the truth is that fat is essential for brain health, hormone production, and absorbing fat soluble vitamins. What matters though is the type of fat, all right, not just the amount of fat. Okay, so with your fats on your food label, so you'll have the main category here, fat. Then there will be total, and it'll tell you what the total amount of fat is in that product, but it'll also tell you what the saturated fat is. And this is the number that we want to keep quite low. Other labels will also have trans fat listed under there as well. We definitely want to be keeping that one very low. So our unsaturated fats is what's found in olive oils, nuts, seeds, avocados, oily fish. So these are healthy fats, and we definitely don't want to avoid them. Saturated fats, on the other hand, are found in fatty meats, butter, processed foods. So we do want to try to keep those lower where possible. But again, context also matters. So small amounts in whole food diets are generally fine. But this is what you want to have a look at when you separate the when the fat. So you've got the total fat, including your unsaturated and saturated, and then you've got your saturated fats here separated. So if I just go back to these other food labels, so if we have a look here, we've got fat, total fat 3.5 grams. Of that, saturated is 1.3. If I go back to this one, we've got fat here, 8.5. Of that, the saturated fat is 6.5. So big portion of this is saturated fat. This one's also got it broken down into trans fat as well, which it says here it's less than 1 gram. So some food labels will have all three listed. It's these two that you are like definitely looking out for. Okay. So fats, fiber. Fiber is definitely one of the most underrated nutrients on the label. Most people don't get nearly enough of it. If you're on the meal plans that I provide, you don't need to worry about the fiber. You're definitely all hitting the amount of fiber that you need. Fiber is amazing because it helps keep things moving through your digestive system, which prevents discomfort and bloating. It promotes fullness. So because fiber slows down that digestive system, it helps you feel satisfied for longer after meals, and it naturally reduces overeating, okay, because we're putting more volume into our stomach. And a healthy gut microbiome thrives on dietary fiber. So good gut health is linked to better immunity, mood, and metabolism. So the recommended daily intake of fiber in Australia is 30 grams per day for men and 25 for women. So that is the minimum standard recommended daily intake of fiber. So let's just have a quick look up here as to what does 30 grams of fiber actually look like in a day. So 2 Wheat Bix, we've got about 3 grams, apple 4 grams, half a cup of oats, we've got 9 grams, and a lot of you guys are on, having your oat pots for either breakfast or a snack. We've got slices of bread, potatoes. So it just shows you a little bit of a breakdown of fiber in some of those meals. Okay, so this slide's about sodium, but I just want to point out here the dietary fiber. Here we've got 1.4 grams. Okay, so that's per serving. If you had 2 servings in this packet, you would be having 2.8 grams of dietary fiber from that meal, okay, or from that item. All right, so sodium. So sodium is definitely worth watching, particularly in packaged foods and processed foods. So this is often added in huge amounts, okay? Most people consume well above the the recommended daily intake of sodium. So the recommended daily intake for sodium is about 2,000 milligrams a day. So we do really want to keep that in mind when we are, looking for items in the supermarket. So too much sodium can cause you bloating, water retention. Over time, this can raise your blood pressure and that type of thing. So what we want to look for is lower sodium options on our labels. So we can see here, this was actually a soup. So I took this label off a soup, and this is just one of those ones that you get in the tub. You click the little thing off and you peel the lid off and you heat it up in the microwave and eat it. So you can see that if you were to have both serves of that soup, and it's not a very big container, so if that's what you were having for a meal at night time, you would be having all of that. So that's 2 serves. And if you look at how much 2 serves would be in sodium, so you've got your 866 for 1 serve. So if you were to have 2, like both serves, that's a lot of sodium in one meal. Okay, that's like nearly 1,800 milligrams of sodium. So that's nearly your whole daily intake in one sitting. So it's just something to look out for when you are looking at the label. Okay, so what should you actually look for when looking at your food label? So let's actually try to simplify that a little bit and give a bit more direction. So you don't need to analyze every single number on the label, all right? When you're comparing 2 products, run through this short checklist and pick one that ticks most of the boxes when you're comparing them. All right, so slightly higher protein because it does keep you fuller for longer. Lower added sugars, so that reduces your blood sugar spikes and any hidden calories that are in there. Higher fiber and lower sodium. All right, so the thing is to just pick one thing that you want to improve and build from there, okay? Because it can be a bit overwhelming trying to look at all of the different numbers on the nutrition label. But if you just get into that habit of looking at the label and looking, okay, that's got that much protein, or this one's got a lot of saturated fat, I do want to stay away from that. Or this soup has a lot of sodium in it, or these tin tomatoes have a lot of sodium, that type of thing. So yeah, we just want to be mindful of those couple of things on the food label as we're shopping and just having a quick look. You don't need to stand there for ages every time you're looking at the back of a label. Just get into the habit of having a quick look so you can get familiar with what some of these numbers mean. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is the ingredients list. So this part is super important, and it's actually really easy to check when you're in the supermarket. So just below the nutrition panel is a section that most people skip entirely, and this is the ingredients list. So this is where you find out what the food is actually made of, and it can tell you a lot that the numbers don't actually tell you. All right, so the order matters. So ingredients are listed from the highest to the lowest by weight. So if sugar or refined flours is in the first 3 ingredients, it's a major component of the product. So shorter equals less processed. So a shorter recognizable ingredients list generally means that it's less processed product. So whole foods should feature early and more prominently in the ingredients list. We're going to go through these ingredients lists in just a second. So what you also want to watch out for is hidden sugars. So sugar hides under so many different names. You've got glucose syrup, dextrose, fructose, maltose, fruit juice concentrate, and so many more. The more of these that appear, the more sugar that's in the product. So if we have a look at these ingredients list here, these products, 2 products, they're both butter, okay? So if we have a look at the ingredients here for this butter, we can see how long the ingredients list is. Now, don't forget, butter has so many marketing strategies to make you buy that product. Same with every product that's out there. So it'll say low in sodium, smarter for your health, good for heart health, low cholesterol, all these type of things. But what you really want to do is have a look at the ingredients list on the back. So this first one here, look how long it is. We've got vegetable oils, canola oil, palm kernel oil, water, salt, emulsifiers, preservatives, acidity regulator, lots of different ingredients in there. But if we go over to this butter here, the ingredients, cream, that's it, cream from cow's milk, okay? So I would much prefer to buy this one because the ingredients is a bit lower. The calories, yes, are less in this one, but if we're looking at the ingredient panel, I would much prefer to use this. And I don't use a lot of butter anyway in my, in my diet. So the little bit of butter that I do use, I would just much prefer it to, yes, it might be higher in calories, but I just prefer it to be this because I'm not putting all of these other things in my body. Okay, so that's just one example. Now, if we go to strawberry jam, hopefully you guys can see this properly. So I've got 2 types of strawberry jam here. If we go and have a look at the ingredients list, the first ingredient listed here is strawberries. Okay, so that means the main ingredient in that product is strawberries. If we have a look at this one, the first ingredient listed is sugar. Okay, so that means the main ingredient in that product is sugar. And then it's got strawberries, gelling agent, food acid, citric acid, okay? So the rest of the ingredients are very similar, but when you have a look at the very main ingredient in the product, I would much prefer to buy this one because I know that the main ingredient is strawberries, okay? So whatever's listed first is what is the main ingredient in the product. Now this one, I love this. Okay, look at the ingredient list on this product. So that is a protein bar, all right? And I don't know if you've ever turned over a protein bar and had a look at the ingredients list. It is massive, okay? There are so many ingredients in a protein bar, and I stay away from them like with a 10-foot pole because they're so packed full of all of these different ingredients that you're like, where the fuck did that come from? So yeah, I just stay away from them. A lot of the times they will make you feel hungrier. They'll make you feel really bloated because they'll have things in them that will make you feel quite bloated. They've got artificial sweeteners in them to make you want to have more. Like we've got gelling agents, we've got sweeteners, we've got thickeners. These type of ingredients can make you extremely bloated and make you feel very uncomfortable. So as I was saying before, monk fruit sweetener, that's just a sugar. Okay, when I went back and said there's so many different names for sugars. Firming agents, acidity regulators, so many ingredients in there. So when I see an ingredient list that long, there's no way I'm buying the product. Instead, you could go for a protein powder. So mix a protein powder in water. The ingredient list is much shorter. You're not going to have all of these extra added sugars in there. If we have a look down here, this is a whey protein blend. So whey protein isolate blend. In brackets, if there's in brackets after something, that's what that blend is made up of. Okay, because sometimes the ingredients might look a little bit long, but it's what is made up of that previous ingredient. So you've got cocoa powder, Himalayan salt, natural thickeners. Like I'm not a huge fan of xanthan gum or guar gum, but it is in some products to make it a little bit thicker. It is from a plant, so it is natural, but I find sometimes it does make some people a little bit bloated. So, but that's the only ingredient in there that I would, I'd still have it because I do have that protein powder, but it can make some people a little bit bloated. And then over here, this is the plant-based version. So we've got lots of like really good ingredients in here. Organic sprouted hemp protein, organic sprouted pumpkin protein, sprouted watermelon protein. Yeah, so just wanted to show you the difference between, like, people think they're doing the right thing by grabbing a protein bar, but if you turn over and have a look at the ingredients list, I can guarantee it'll probably be this long. All right, another fun one to look at is yogurt. So these are a couple of different yogurts that I just chose to have a look at. So Mungali Creek yogurt, this is actually like one of my favorites. I do love this yogurt. Up in the ingredients, we can see biodynamic full cream cow's milk. Okay, so that's our main ingredient. Organic milk solids, live cultures, and that's it. Okay, there's no added sugar, there's no added flavors. It's just your full cream milk and your organic milk solids and your live cultures. So if we then go over to here, so this is vanilla Yoplait, we can see that we've got a lot more ingredients in here. So we've got milk, skim milk, milk solids, sugar, gelatin, thickener, natural flavors, and then you've got your live cultures. You've also got acidity regulator down there. So you do have the extra sugars and the thickeners in that yogurt. So out of the two of them, I would much prefer to just be having this one because the ingredients list is much cleaner. Now, if we go and have a look down here at the Chobani 20-gram protein yogurt, this is a very, very popular yogurt because such a big hype now with yogurt, that's high protein yogurt, this one's better, this one's got 20 grams of protein, it's all this marketing hype about the more protein in the yogurt, the better, and blah, blah, blah. So if you have a look here, we've got your skim milk, your thickeners, they've got the guar gum there again, more sweeteners, vanilla bean, acidity regulators, and it's got your live cultures as well. So again, it's not terrible, but I would still much prefer the ones that have just less ingredients and no added sugar. So yeah, that's just something to point out. And then this one here, we've got the Chobani Greek yogurt, which is great because if you have a look at the ingredients, it's got skim milk, live cultures, and that's it. Okay. So out of the two, I would be going with the Mungali Creek up here or the Chobani Greek yogurt. So not the Chobani 20-gram protein yogurt, just the normal Chobani Greek yogurt. So that's just another little way to compare with ingredients list. Now, another really interesting one is bread and wraps and all those type of things. So with our ingredients list for our breads, we've got some sourdough here. So very simple ingredients list. Wheat flour, water, sourdough. So it's made up sourdough, wheat bran, malted wheat, yeast, and vitamins. Okay, really simple ingredients list. If we go down here to our wraps, we have a lot more ingredients. We've got our wheat flour, that's fine, that's our main ingredient. Then we've also got vegetable shortening, palm oil, humectants. We've got emulsifiers. We've got raising agents, acidity regulators, thickeners. There's preservatives in there. So we've got preservatives like 281 and 200. So we can see here that there's a lot of ingredients in there. So I'm not saying any of these are bad. I'm just saying to have a look at the other options you've got. Now comparing it to this Lebanese pita bread, it has four ingredients: flour, water, yeast, sea salt. That's it. So if you were to pick between the two wraps, yes, I know these ones are, a little bit bigger, they fold easier, all those type of things. People might like the taste of them better because they do have those extra ingredients in them that make us want to eat more of them. But from a health perspective, this here is so much better for you than this. Okay? So I'm not saying that either of them are not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that there are other options out there when you turn over the packet to look at the ingredients list, and you want to think about what you're putting in your body. So I just want to touch on marketing versus reality. So the front of a food package is just a marketing tool. It's designed to make you feel good about buying the product that's in front of you. All right, the buzzwords are unregulated, okay, and they can be deeply misleading. So despite what it says on the front, don't trust it. Like, have a look at the back, have a look at the ingredients list, have a look at the food label. And the more you do that, the more you just get used to picking the one that is a better option. So common things that they'll say on the front, like low fat, often actually means it's higher in sugar to compensate for that flavor. Natural, there's no legal definition, so it means almost nothing. Healthy, it's just a marketing word, it's not actually a regulated term. And high protein. So sometimes it'll say high protein and you'll turn it over and go, oh, how does that even equate to being high protein? Okay. So the golden rule, I guess, is the more a product shouts about its health benefits on the front, the more skeptical you should be. Right? A truly nutritious food rarely needs to market itself that way. So always flip the packet, have a quick look, and like I said, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And yeah, I still learn things all the time when I go to the supermarket. I have my staples that I always buy, but if I'm wanting to buy something new, I'll always flip it over and have a look. So what I wanted to touch on was, if you haven't followed Sophie Morris on Instagram, she is amazing, and she might have a podcast, I'm not sure, but she does amazing little snippets on really good supermarket swabs. So, she's Irish. I love listening to her. She's great. So yeah, if you wanted to jump on and follow her, she's really good. Okay, so being able to make these supermarket swaps is just something that you need to practice. Those small changes actually do have a big impact. So swapping one high sugar product for a better option every week just actually really adds up over time. So I definitely don't want you to all go out and do this big overhaul and throw everything out, or, panic about what's in your cupboards, because it's definitely not about that. It's just about being aware that, there are things that we can swap out each time that you go to the supermarket. And it just comes back to being consistent. And then here I've got habit builds on habit. So each swap you make successfully makes the next one easier. So start with one category and then just build the momentum, okay? And the rest will follow. And it might even take a little bit to get used to the flavors for the swaps that you have, but being informed with, hey, I'm making this swap because this is actually going to be a lot better for me. The flavor, getting used to that flavor will just follow. So some really, really easy supermarket swaps. Flavored yogurt is actually really high in added sugar and quite low in protein. So swapping to a Greek yogurt and then just adding some fresh fruit. Your cereal swaps. So if you are someone who likes to have lots of sugary breakfast cereal, switch for something that's higher in fiber and lower in sugar. So look for oats, bran, whole grains as the first ingredients in that ingredient list. And for your snack swaps, really try to avoid processed snack bars, because they are packed full of sugar. They've got so many additives in them, and they actually don't have that much protein in them. So you're actually better off having something like your Greek yogurt, mixing some protein powder in it, just having a protein shake, having a handful of nuts, lots of different swaps that you can do instead of having those processed snack bars. And your body will thank you for it. Okay, just not going to have to work so hard to process all of those ingredients and all of those additives and preservatives. It's really going to make such a big difference. So your challenge this week is to pick one of those swaps and try it at your next shop. So those small steps lead to lasting change. Okay, it's so powerful to be able to turn over a product and instantly go, oh, no, I know that there's a better option out there. And not going to be a big overhaul to start with. Start small, even if it is just switching out your yogurt, or stop having the processed snack bars, or having a look at the serving size at the packet of chips that you're eating, or just be mindful that you're now empowered to go, I actually know what some of these things mean. Have a look at how much saturated fat is on the label, or how much added sugar is listed underneath the carbohydrates. So yeah, this is a great one. If you have any questions at all, though, please reach out. I love this space. I'm always looking at nutrition labels and, seeing what new products, what ingredients they have and the better swaps that I can make. And it is really a journey. So, yeah, please reach out. I do love this space and I really hope you guys learned something. All right. Bye.